Her ship was ruined, and she closed her eyes, ready to die, but found a human holding her. The ship had been dying for hours. Cold crept through the broken corridors, slow and quiet like a patient enemy. Emergency lights flickered, then went dark one by one. The stars outside the cracked viewport did not move. No engines, no control, no hope. She floated near the command seat, held in place by a failing restraint. Her breathing was shallow now, every breath hurt. The air tasted thin and wrong. The ship's voice had gone silent long ago, and with it, the last comfort of not being alone. She had done everything right. She had followed the routes. She had trusted the charts. Still, the ambush came out of nowhere. One moment the void was calm, the next it was fire and alarms and shaking metal. She had escaped barely, but escape meant drifting into a forgotten system where no one traveled. No one except the dead. She closed her eyes and let her head rest back. There was no fear left, only exhaustion. Her species did not cry easily, but her eyes burned anyway. She thought of home, of the warm skies and the long halls filled with voices. She thought of how quiet space really was. The ship shuddered once, weak and final. Life support failed. She exhaled and did not inhale again. Darkness came gently. At first there was nothing, no sound, no pain, just a deep, endless stillness. She wondered if this was what death felt like. If so, it was softer than she expected. Then something changed. There was movement, not the slow drift of a broken ship, but a pull. Her body shifted, weightless but guided. The cold began to fade, replaced by something warmer. She felt pressure around her shoulders, firm and careful. Her instincts screamed. She tried to move. Tried to open her eyes. Her body did not respond. A sound reached her, low, rough, and unfamiliar, not the smooth tones of galactic speech. This voice was uneven, full of breath and strain. It was speaking not to her, but to itself. "Easy, I've got you." The words meant nothing to her mind, but the tone did. It was focused, steady, alive. Warmth spread across her chest as something wrapped around her, pulling her closer. The sensation was strange, too solid, too real for death. Her eyes fluttered open. Light stabbed into her vision, harsh and white. She gasped, sucking in air that burned her lungs but filled them fully. She coughed, her body jolting as she was pulled tighter against something solid, against someone. She blinked, trying to focus. Shapes sharpened into form. Metal walls scratched and patched, thick cables running along the ceiling. A helmeted face close to hers, visor scratched, eyes wide with concentration. Not alien, not familiar, human. She had seen images before, everyone had. Humans were a young species, loud and stubborn, barely holding their place in the wider galaxy. They flew ships that should not survive, using technology that others considered outdated. They were not supposed to be here. Her heart raced. She tried to pull away, but her body was weak. The human noticed immediately. Hey, don't move," he said quickly. His voice vibrated through the suit and into her bones. "You're safe, or safer, just hold on, okay?" He adjusted his grip, one arm behind her back, the other supporting her legs. His movements were careful, almost gentle, even though the ship around them groaned under stress. Her ship, what was left of it, floated outside through an open breach, torn metal, frozen debris. A graveyard, he had come inside it. That realization stunned her more than the lack of oxygen had. No one entered a dying ship. No one risked their own life for a stranger drifting in a dead system. No one except a human. "Hang on," he said again, as if repeating it could keep her alive. "Almost there." He pushed off the wreckage, guiding them both toward a small airlock cut into his ship. It was barely larger than an escape pod. Paint was chipped. Warning labels were scratched out and replaced with handwritten notes. The door sealed behind them with a loud clang. Pressure rushed in. The human hissed as his suit adjusted. He kept his eyes on her the entire time, watching her breathing, his grip never loosening. When the inner door opened, warmer air flooded in. Real air. She gasped again, deeper this time, her vision clearing enough to take in more details. The ship was small, very small, nothing like the massive cruisers of her people. This vessel felt cramped, cluttered, alive with motion and noise. Tools floated in netted pockets. Screens blinked with mismatched data. Wires ran where panels should have been. It should not work. Yet it did. The human carried her inside and gently secured her to a padded surface. He removed his helmet, revealing a tired face marked with grease and small cuts. His hair stuck out in odd directions, damp with sweat. "You're gonna be okay?" he said, though his breathing suggested he was not entirely sure. I hope," She tried to speak. Her throat was raw, her voice barely a sound. The words came out broken and unfamiliar even to herself. Why? He frowned slightly, leaning closer. Why what? Why help? He blinked, clearly surprised by the question. For a moment he looked away, rubbing the back of his neck. Because you were there, he said simply, and you were alive, that's usually enough. That answer made no sense according to galactic logic. Rescue was calculated, risk was measured, lives were weighed. Humans, it seemed, did not measure the same way. She watched him move around the ship, adjusting systems, muttering to himself. Every motion was fast but purposeful. He worked like someone used to things breaking, used to solving problems with whatever was on hand. Her strength slowly returned as the warmth and oxygen did their work. Fear crept in now, replacing the numb acceptance she had felt before. If he knew who she was, if anyone knew, the galaxy was not kind to symbols, and she was one whether she wanted to be or not. She turned her head, studying him quietly. This human, alone in deep space, flying a ship held together by effort and hope. He had risked everything without knowing her name, her value, or the danger attached to her survival. Outside, far beyond the dead system, forces were already moving. Signals had been sent, search patterns formed. They would not expect a human ship to be involved. That mistake might save her life, or cost him his. The ship hummed steadily as it pulled away from the wreckage. The stars began to shift outside the viewport, slow at first, then faster. She closed her eyes again, not in surrender this time, but in thought. She had been ready to die. Instead, she had awakened in the arms of a human, and nothing in the galaxy would remain the same because of it. The human ship moved slowly through the dark, far slower than any modern galactic vessel. Its engines hummed unevenly, like they were arguing with each other but still agreeing to work. The stars outside stretched and shifted, not enough for a full jump, but enough to put distance between them and the dead system. She lay secured on the padded surface, wrapped in a thermal sheet that smelled faintly of metal and cleaning fluid. Her breathing had steadied, though every breath still felt strange, heavier than the air she was used to. The warmth made her tired, but her mind refused to rest. She was alive. That fact still felt unreal. The human moved around the cockpit, checking screens, tapping controls, tightening a loose panel with a small tool. He worked without stopping, like motion itself kept his thoughts from catching up with fear. Every so often, he glanced back at her, making sure she was still breathing, still conscious. "You doing okay?" he asked after a while. She nodded slowly. Speaking still felt difficult, but she forced the words out. "Yes, I think." "That's good," he said, relief clear in his voice. "You scared me back there." She frowned slightly. "I was not the one inside a dying ship." He let out a short, quiet laugh. "Yeah, well, still." Silence filled the space between them, broken only by the ship systems and the faint vibration of the engines. She used the quiet to study him more carefully. Humans looked fragile up close. No armor built into their bodies, no protective scales, just soft skin and sharp eyes. Yet he had entered a wreck without hesitation. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. "Someplace safer," he replied. "There's a repair station not too far from here, old, mostly ignored, but it's got air, power, and food. I can patch my ship there, maybe get you checked properly." "You do not know my people," she said carefully. "No," he admitted, "but you needed help." That answer again, simple, dangerous. She looked away, staring at the stars. If he brought her to a station, others might see her, might recognize her, might send word. The thought made her chest tighten. "You should leave me somewhere else," she said quietly, "a place with no records." He stopped what he was doing and turned to face her fully. His expression grew serious but not angry. "Are you being hunted?" he asked. She hesitated. Lying would be easier, but humans, she sensed, did not respond well to half-truths. "Yes," she said. He took a slow breath. "Okay." That was all, no accusation, no demand for explanation, just acceptance. "You don't seem surprised," she said. "I fly routes other people don't," he replied. "That usually means trouble follows, you learn to live with it." He returned to his controls, adjusting course slightly. The ship shuddered, then steadied. "You don't have to tell me who you are," he added. "But if someone's after you, it helps to know how worried I should be." She considered that, then nodded once. "I am important," she said, "more than I wish to be." He glanced back, one eyebrow raised. "That sounds heavy." "It is." Another quiet moment passed. The ship drifted on. She watched as he pulled open a storage unit and retrieved a sealed container. He brought it over and set it beside her. "Food," he said. "It's human-made, might taste weird, but it's safe." She opened it cautiously. The smell was unfamiliar but not unpleasant. She took a small bite. It was strange, warm, dense, comforting in a way she did not expect. "It is acceptable," she said. "High praise," he replied with a small smile. As time passed, her strength returned further. She could sit up now, supported by straps. She studied the ship more openly, curiosity overcoming fear. Every surface told a story of repair and reuse. Nothing was wasted. Everything had been fixed at least once. "Why is your ship like this?" she asked. "Like what?" "Old. Patched, still flying." He leaned back in his chair. "Because it has to be. Humans don't always get the best stuff, so we make the stuff we have work longer." "That seems inefficient." "Maybe," he said, "but it also means we know how every part works. And what to do when it doesn't." As if to prove his point, a warning light flickered briefly. He reached up, tapped the panel twice, and the light went out. She stared. "That fixed it." "Temporary fixes are still fixes," he said. Her people believed in perfection, in flawless systems that never failed. Yet when they did fail, everything collapsed. Humans, it seemed, expected failure and prepared for it. A soft alarm sounded. The human frowned, reading the display. "Someone's scanning the area," he said. Her heart skipped. "Already." "Don't panic," he added quickly. "Could be old probes, could be nothing." But his fingers moved faster now, adjusting settings, powering down non-essential systems. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Making us boring," he said. "Most scans look for strong signals, new tech. Clean energy, we don't have much of that." The ship's lights dimmed slightly. The hum grew quieter. They waited. Seconds stretched into minutes. She felt everyone. Finally, the alarm stopped. The human let out a breath he had been holding. "Looks like we're clear," he said. She relaxed slightly, then realized something. "You risked being found," she said. "Because of me," he shrugged. "I already took that risk when I pulled you out." The weight of that settled heavily on her. "You could have died," she said. "So could you," he replied. "You almost did." The station came into view not long after. It was old, as promised, rotating slowly, its lights dim but steady. No large ships docked nearby, no patrols. As they approached, she felt something unfamiliar twist inside her chest. Hope. The ship docked with a dull thud. The human powered systems down and stood, stretching stiff muscles. "We're here," he said. "You can rest properly now." She looked at him, really looked at him. "You do not know what helping me means," she said. He smiled, tired but genuine. "Then I guess we'll both find out." As the airlock opened and the station's lights spilled inside, she understood one thing clearly. Being saved by a human did not mean safety. It meant change. And change, once started, never stayed small. The station felt older up close. Its metal walls were scarred by time, patched in places with mismatched plates. The lights flickered softly, never fully dark, never fully bright. It was the kind of place the galaxy forgot on purpose. No banners, no guards, no welcome signals. The human guided her carefully through the airlock, one hand ready to steady her if she stumbled. She was stronger now, but her body still felt slow, like it was catching up with reality after almost being left behind. The station corridors were quiet, too quiet. "That's not normal," the human said softly. "What is not?" she asked. "Stations like this usually have someone, traders, mechanics, somebody trying to avoid taxes." He paused, listening. "This place feels empty." Her senses sharpened. "Empty does not mean safe." "No," he agreed. "It usually means someone scared everyone off." They moved deeper into the station, steps careful, eyes alert. The human did not carry a weapon. Instead, he carried a small tool kit and a handheld scanner, fingers resting on it like it was just as useful. That, she realized, was very human. They reached the central hub, a wide circular chamber with docking controls and access tunnels branching out like spokes. Several consoles were active, screens glowing faintly. Someone had been here recently. Her heart began to race. Before either of them could speak, the lights brightened suddenly. A calm, artificial voice filled the chamber, speaking in a formal galactic tone. "Unidentified vessel and occupants, you have entered a monitored zone. Remain where you are." The human sighed. "Yep, there it is." She froze. "This station is monitored." "Apparently," he said. "Which means someone else knew you might come here." The voice continued. "The non-human individual is requested to step forward alone." Her breath caught. This was it, the moment she had been dreading. She took a step forward. The human's hand shot out, stopping her gently but firmly. "No," he said. She turned to him, shocked. "You do not understand. They want me. If I go, you will be safe." He shook his head. "That's not how this works." This is exactly how it works, she insisted. My presence puts you in danger. Yeah, he replied, and walking into a trap doesn't magically make danger disappear, it just moves it. The station voice interrupted. Human individual, this matter does not concern your species. The human looked up at the ceiling. Funny thing about that, he said. She concerns me. The silence that followed felt heavy, like the station itself was thinking. Then the voice spoke again, colder now. Non-compliance noted. Hidden panels slid open along the walls. Not weapons, restraints. Energy fields designed to trap, not kill. Clean, efficient, legal. She felt fear surge through her. You should let them take me, she whispered. He leaned closer, voice low. I didn't save you just to hand you over. The fields activated. The human reacted instantly. He grabbed her and pulled her backward as the floor beneath them lit up. The energy field snapped shut where they had been standing moments before. They ran. The human led without hesitation, choosing corridors at random, trusting instinct over maps. Alarms echoed through the station, not loud but persistent. This station's security is old, he said while moving. That's good for us. How? She asked, struggling to keep pace. Old systems don't adapt fast. They ducked into a maintenance corridor barely wide enough for two. The human sealed the hatch behind them and immediately opened a panel, wires spilling out. What are you doing? She asked, breathless. Teaching the station to forget we exist. He worked fast, fingers flying, connecting cables that clearly were not meant to touch. Sparks flew. The lights flickered again. She stared in disbelief. You should not be able to do that. Yeah, he said. I get that a lot. The alarm softened, then faded. For a moment there was only the sound of their breathing. She leaned against the wall, heart pounding. They will not stop. I know, he said, which means we shouldn't either. They moved again, deeper into the station, away from the central hub. Eventually they reached an observation chamber overlooking the docking ring. From there they could see ships arriving, not many, but enough, sleek, advanced, not human. Her shoulders slumped. They found me. Looks like it, he said calmly. She turned to him. You must leave. Now take your ship and go. He watched the incoming vessels, eyes sharp. If I leave, they'll just tighten the net. You won't last long. You do not understand what they will do if they connect you to me. He finally looked at her. Then tell me. She hesitated, then spoke quietly. My survival keeps an empire stable. My death or capture gives others an excuse to move. Entire systems could burn because of me. He absorbed that without flinching. Well, he said after a moment, that explains the welcome party. This is not something a human should be involved in, she said. Too late, he replied. I'm already here. She studied his face, searching for fear, doubt, regret. She found none, only resolve. They underestimate humans, she said slowly. He smiled slightly. Yeah. They really do. A new signal flashed on his scanner. They're locking the station down, docking clamps, communications too. She felt the walls closing in. We are trapped, he shook his head. No, we're just in a box with predictable exits. He moved to a console and began typing commands that made no sense to her. This station runs on shared control nodes, old design. I can't override them, but I can confuse them. What does that mean? It means the station won't know who belongs where. The lights shifted again. Some went dark, others brightened. On the docking ring, clamps released unexpectedly. One of the incoming ships drifted slightly off course, bumping another. No damage, just confusion. That should buy us time, he said. Time for what? She asked. He looked at her. For you to decide. Decide what? How much you trust me. She met his gaze. In the short time she had known him, he had broken every rule her people believed in. He had saved her without reason, protected her without reward, challenged forces far beyond him without hesitation. Humans, she realized, were not reckless. They were committed. I trust you, she said. Good, he replied, because this next part is risky. He led her back toward the docking area, but not to his ship. Instead, toward an old cargo launcher embedded in the station's outer ring. You're going to send me away, she said. No, he corrected. We are. She stared at the launcher. That cannot hold two. It can if we don't mind being uncomfortable, he said. And where does it go? Someplace nobody would think to look. The station shook slightly as more ships docked. Voices echoed through the corridors now, orders being given, the hunt tightening. She felt fear again, but also something else. Trust. They climbed into the launcher pod. It was small, cramped, and clearly not designed for living beings. The human sealed it manually. Ready? He asked. She took a deep breath. I was ready to die. This is better, he grinned. That's the spirit. The launcher fired. For a moment there was only force and darkness. Then stars. The pod flew free of the station, small and unremarkable, drifting among debris and signal noise. Behind them, powerful ships focused on the station, on the obvious exits, on the wrong answers. Inside the pod, she steadied herself and looked at the human. "They will realize eventually," she said. "Yeah," he replied, "but by then we'll be somewhere else." She leaned back, feeling the steady hum of motion. Once again, the galaxy had reached for her. Once again, a human had refused to let go. And somewhere deep in space, the balance of power shifted, quietly, dangerously, because one species refused to act the way it was expected to. The pod drifted for a long time. At first, neither of them spoke. The launcher had thrown them far from the station, and now they floated among scattered debris and weak signal noise. The pod systems were minimal. No windows, only small screens showing rough data. Air was stable. Power was limited, safe for now. She sat with her knees drawn close, fingers gripping a support bar to steady herself. The human checked the pod's readouts, adjusting a dial, tapping a screen that lagged before responding. "They'll search," she said quietly. "Of course," he replied. "They already are." "You sent us into open space," she said. "They will find this pod." "Not easily," he said. "This thing is old and dumb, no active beacon, no clean signature, it looks like junk." She let that sink in. "You hide by being ignored." "Exactly." The pod rotated slowly, aligning with a faint current of drifting material. The human secured them both, conserving movement, conserving energy. Hours passed. She felt time differently now. Every moment alive felt borrowed. She thought about the station, the ships, the people who wanted her contained or erased. She thought about how close she had come to accepting death, and how far she had come from that moment. "Why are you still helping me?" she asked suddenly. He did not look up. "Because stopping now would make everything before pointless. That is not the real reason." He paused, then leaned back, eyes on the dim ceiling. "Humans don't like unfinished things," he said. "Especially people." She studied him. "Even when the cost is high." "Especially then?" A faint alert sounded. The human straightened. "Search pulse," he said. "Long range." Her heart tightened. "They are close." "Not close enough," he replied, "but we shouldn't stay still." He adjusted the pod's orientation, releasing a small burst of gas that nudged them deeper into the debris field. Broken metal, old ice fragments, scraps from forgotten ships. To her people, it was chaos. To humans, it was cover. The search pulse passed. Silence returned. She exhaled slowly. "If they catch me, this ends badly." "For who?" he asked. "For everyone," she said. "They will use me as proof, as leverage, as an excuse." He nodded. "So we don't let them." "You cannot fight empires," she said gently. He smiled faintly. "We don't fight them head-on." She tilted her head. "Then how?" "We survive long enough that they have to explain themselves," he said. "Empires hate explaining." The pod's power dropped another level. He frowned, calculating. "We need a place to go," she said. "I know one," he replied, "but you're not going to like it." She met his eyes. "Tell me." "A human outpost," he said. "Not official, not recognized, barely legal." She stiffened. "That would expose your species." "Some of us are already exposed," he said, "just not loudly." She looked away. "If they follow us there." "They won't," he said. "They won't think we're stupid enough to do that." She considered that. The galaxy saw humans as impulsive but small, brave but limited. Taking her to a human outpost would look like a mistake. Which made it the perfect move. The pod coasted for another stretch of time before the human initiated a low-power signal. Nothing that would carry far, just enough. Minutes later, a response blinked onto the screen. A rough identifier, no formal codes, no demands. She watched as the human relaxed slightly. "Someone answered," she said. "Yeah," he replied. "That means we're almost home." The outpost was hidden inside a hollowed asteroid, its exterior masked to look like natural rock. Only when they were close did subtle lights and openings appear. The pod was guided in silently, clamps securing it with careful precision. When the hatch opened, warm air and human voices spilled in. She tensed instinctively. "It's okay," the human said. "You're safe here." Several humans approached, expressions curious but calm. They took in her appearance without fear, without awe, just interest. "What happened?" one of them asked. "Long story," the human replied. "Short version, she needed help. That was enough." They moved her into a quiet chamber, offered food, water, rest. No questions she wasn't ready to answer. No pressure. She sat alone for a while, listening to the sounds of the outpost. Laughter, tools, life. This place existed outside the rules of the galaxy. Humans living in the cracks, helping each other survive. The human who had saved her returned later carrying a small device. "They're broadcasting," he said. "Wide range." Her body went still. "About me?" "Yes," he said, "but not the way they planned." He activated the device. A recorded message filled the room. Formal, careful, public. A powerful group announced concern for her safety. They claimed she had been lost in an accident and asked for cooperation in locating her remains. Her remains. "They are preparing the story," she said softly. "Yeah," he said, "which means they don't have you. Yet. They're also warning humans to stay out of it," he added. She laughed quietly without humor. "That will not work." "No," he agreed. "It never does." She stood slowly, feeling steadier than she had in days. "I cannot stay hidden forever." "I know," he said. "If I disappear completely, they will act anyway," she continued. "If I return alone, they will control the narrative." He waited, sensing where this was going. "There is only one option," she said. "I must be seen choosing." "Choosing what?" he asked. "Choosing humans." Silence filled the room. "That would put a target on your back," he said. "It already is," she replied. "This would put one on your species as well." He considered her words carefully. "You're asking for protection." "I am offering alliance," she said. Outside, the outpost hummed with quiet activity. Humans going about their lives unaware of how close the galaxy was to noticing them. "They underestimate you," she said. "They see scattered colonies, old ships, no unity." He smiled. "You're not wrong, but they do not see what happens when humans decide to stand together," she continued. "I have seen it now." He leaned against the wall. "You want to make a statement." "Yes," she said, "one they cannot erase." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "All right," he said. "If we do this, we do it right." They began preparing immediately. Not weapons, not fleets, messages, proof, records, witnesses. Humans were very good at documentation. Data from the ambush, from the station, from the hunt. Carefully preserved, carefully copied, sent to places that could not all be silenced at once. She watched them work, amazed at the speed, the coordination. No single leader, no grand speeches, just shared purpose. Hours later, she stood beside the human who had first pulled her from the wreckage. "Are you afraid?" she asked. He thought about it. "Yeah." "Then why do this?" He looked at her, eyes steady. "Because someone tried to decide your fate without asking you. Humans don't like that." She felt something settle inside her, something solid. The message was sent. Not a demand, not a threat, a truth. She was alive. She had been saved by humans. She was choosing to stand with them. The galaxy would hear it, and once heard, it could never be taken back. Far away, powerful beings would argue. Plans would shift. Assumptions would break. All because one ruined ship had not been allowed to become a grave. And one human hand had reached into the dark and refused to let go. The response did not come immediately. For a long time after the message was sent, the galaxy remained quiet. Too quiet. Signals moved. Data spread. Questions were asked in private chambers and sealed channels. No one denied the truth, but no one accepted it either. She felt the waiting more than anything else. The human outpost continued its routines. Ships arrived and left. Repairs were made. Meals were shared. Life went on in a place that was never meant to matter. Yet now it sat at the center of something far larger than itself. She stood near the observation window, watching distant stars drift past the asteroid's slow rotation. Each one reminded her how small she was, and how much power had been placed on her shoulders without her consent. "You don't have to stay out here," the human said behind her. "I know," she replied, "but if I look away, it feels like hiding." He nodded, understanding more than she expected. "The message worked," he said. "They're responding," her breath caught. "How?" "Carefully," he said, "which means they're scared." Screens across the outpost began to activate, displaying fragments of official statements. Neutral language, concerned expressions, carefully balanced words that avoided admitting fault. She watched as different factions spoke separately, each trying to shape the story without fully committing to it. "They are testing reactions," she said, "trying to see how much humans matter." The human crossed his arms. And they are learning something new," she said. "What's that?" "That humans do not stay quiet when they are involved." Across human space, official and unofficial alike, the message had spread fast. Crews who had never met her now spoke her name. Pilots who had never left their systems shared the recording of her choosing humans, not because she was powerful, but because she had chosen them. Human networks filled with questions, theories, and support. Some worried about danger. Others spoke about responsibility. Many simply said the same thing over and over. She was saved. That was enough. The galaxy noticed the shift. A formal request arrived hours later. Not a demand, not an order. A request for dialogue. She read it twice, then handed it to the human. "They want to speak with me," she said. "They want to speak with us," he corrected. She smiled faintly. "Yes." The meeting was arranged on neutral ground, a shared virtual space visible to many, hidden from none. Transparency demanded by humans was part of the condition. When the connection opened, figures appeared, representatives of powerful systems, their forms projected with careful precision. Calm faces, controlled voices. She stood between two human representatives, not leaders, witnesses. One of the figures spoke. "You were declared lost." "I was never lost," she replied. "I was hunted." A pause. "We acted to preserve stability," another said. "At the cost of my life," she replied, "without my consent." The words carried weight because they were simple, clear, human. "You are alive because of humans," a third figure said. "Yes," she replied, "and because they chose to help without knowing who I was." "That choice has consequences," the figure warned. She looked directly at the projection. "So does yours." Silence followed, not technical. Political, the human beside her did not speak. He did not need to. His presence was statement enough. Finally, the first figure spoke again. "What do you want?" She had prepared for this question her entire life. Yet the answer now felt different. "I want recognition of what was done," she said. "I want protections not just for me but for those who helped me, and I want humans acknowledged as a sovereign force, not a convenience." The request was bold, uncomfortable. "Humans are fragmented," one figure said. "They lack unified command," she nodded. "So do ideas, that does not make them weak." The human networks lit up as the exchange was broadcast. Millions listened, not cheering, not shouting, just watching, learning. "We will consider your demands," the figure said. "You already are," she replied. "That is why you are here." The connection ended. She exhaled, feeling tension drain from her body. Her legs felt weak. The human beside her steadied her without a word. "That was intense," he said. "Yes," she replied, "but necessary." Days passed, more statements followed, policies shifted quietly, patrol routes changed, warnings softened. The hunt ended without announcement. Eventually, a final declaration arrived. Her status was restored, publicly, clearly. The actions taken against her were labeled unauthorized. Regret was expressed without apology. Most importantly, humans were formally recognized as protectors under galactic law. Not enforcers, not soldiers, protectors. The word spread fast. She stood once more by the observation window, this time with the human beside her. The stars looked the same, the galaxy did not. "What will you do now?" he asked. She considered the question carefully. "I will return home, not alone," he smiled. "Figures. And you?" she asked. "I'll keep flying," he said, "fixing broken things, picking up people who shouldn't be left behind." She turned to him. "You changed the galaxy," he shrugged. "I just didn't let someone die." That was the truth. When she left the outpost, it was not in secrecy. A human ship escorted her, broadcast channels open, routes visible. No one interfered. The message was clear. She was not alone anymore. As her vessel jumped toward home, she looked back once, watching the human ship shrink into the distance. She remembered the cold, the darkness, the moment she closed her eyes, ready to die, and the warmth that followed. Across the galaxy, stories would be told about empires and power and politics. But the one that mattered most would be simpler. When everything was lost and no one else came, a human did. And that was enough to change everything.